Welcome back, everyone. It's AJ Barce, your friendly neighborhood instructional designer over here on TLT. And in this video, I'm going to continue on with a little bit of an AMA like I did in a previous video, but I'm going to call this Common Questions that come into Canvas, because I like alliterations. So a common question that we've been getting is, what AIs or AI services does Western have and can provide to students, staff, and faculty? So before I dive into that, there's two other resources I need to kind of preface before I can get into the tool that we have. The first one is the academic uses for AI for students page, and I'll have links in the show notes for this video so you can go directly to these pages. But in here we have a breakdown of a generative AI product comparison of the big AIs that are commonly out there and freely available. I'll put free in air quotes. ChatGPT, of course, being the heavy hitter that everybody knows. I call it the Kleenex of AI. We then have Copilot by Microsoft, which is also referred to as Bing Chat. And then we have Gemini or Gemma for Google, which is integrated into Google Search now. We have Designer by Microsoft, which dovetails into Copilot, and then Firefly for Adobe. Now, the latter two are more for generative image creation. So those really nifty images that you may have been seeing online, those are usually coming out of something like Firefly or Designer, which is using a version of Dolly, which comes out of the fine folks over at ChatGPT. Now, on this page, we have a breakdown of what type of interaction limits that the free accounts allow. This will allow you to let you know at a quick glance, but it will also identify things, other features that are pertaining to academia, such as, does it identify sources, which is a big thing. A lot of the times these AIs are known as a black box, where we don't really know how they're getting the data and processing it and giving it to you. So it's nice to know that there are certain AIs, such as in the case of Copilot, it will cite its source, where on the internet it's getting it from. And then other characteristics that might be useful to know, such as, does this AI support generating code if you're doing web development and such, and what platforms it's available, whether it's available for Mac, PC, web, or iOS, Android, or both, or all of the above. So the second resource I want to point out is the FAQs guide. Now, this FAQs is written for anyone in the Western community, but we really kind of zoned in on staff and faculty for this page. But it has all the resources cross-linked, such as things to the TLC co-op for AI and using it within teaching considerations, and also Pathways, which is a flowchart that was developed to kind of show the if-then statements of faculty when you run against a potential use of AI in your course when you didn't perhaps allow it. And so all of these are linked at the very top, but this will give you a breakdown of a little bit of the background going on within AI here at Western, AI generated content, and employee use. So this is a big thing. Back in August of 2023, the CEO of the state of Washington issued interim guidelines for all of us in state agencies and state employees as to what we need to abide by when we use or integrate AI into our systems. And this section is really intended for people who are thinking about using AI in the workplace, whether that's for teaching or if you're staff using it for your department, and what considerations you must consider when you're using it for the context of work. So that's what these two pages are for. This one predominantly for students, this one for faculty and staff and any state employee. So now that I have those prefaces for those resources, what tool do we have here at Western that you can sign in with your Western ID and get access to? And that leads me to the one that I mentioned before on the student page, and that is Microsoft Copilot or Bing Chat. So let's dive into what this Copilot is. Now, Copilot's made by Microsoft, and a little thing that you need to know about Microsoft is they're a big stakeholder in OpenAI, which are the folks that created ChatGPT to start with. And that's why Copilot uses the same GPT-4o at the time of this recording in their use of Copilot. So really, you're kind of using the more expensive pro version or a pro version of ChatGPT. But all you have to do is sign into an Edge browser or any Chrome-based browser with your Western credentials, and you will get access to Copilot. So you'll notice that I'm signed in here with my Western credentials in the browser. If you're using an Edge browser, over here on the top right, they have Copilot built in. So you'll notice on the left and the right, it's pretty much a parody of what I'm going to show you. So it doesn't matter if you're accessing it through the Edge Copilot link up in the top right, or if you're using it within the browser. I'll even show you later in this video what it looks like on mobile as well, because this is actually unified across all platforms when you're signed in with your Western credentials. So I'm going to turn off the one that's built in so that anybody who's using any browser, you'll get the same experience that I'm showing you right now. And this is very similar to any other AI. You have a prompt and you get going. So again, if we recall back to our student academic uses for AI, we'll notice that there are some limitations even to our account that we have with Copilot, such as we have a limit of 30 interactions within a single chat. You can have as many chats as you want, but you're limited to how many back and forths, volley, that you can have in one chat. We also have access to DALL-E 3, as I mentioned, but all in all, you're able to access DALL-E and ChatGPT 4.0 for free by using your Western credentials. So I have the prompt, give me a list of reasons why I should use AI in my teaching of instructional design here at Western Washington University, and how it would be helpful for faculty to use it also in Canvas, whether it's in person or online. So I just put in the prompt in plain language. We also can give it files. So if you have something that you've been working on, you can actually hand it a file and it can read it to some extent. This can go for things like diagrams, PDFs, articles and such, and that will help, especially if you're trying to do things like you have a large body of text research that you need to go through. It can help scan it and help put together, again, it's AI, so be sure that you vet the information, what it gives you, but it can synthesize some of that stuff and give you summaries. But in this case, I'm just going to start a simple discussion about this, and we're going to see how Copilot handles this. So it's crunching the numbers, and voila, we now have a list of a response, and you'll notice it cites its sources, both with a footnote and the link to those footnotes where it's drawing from, which is super important. Now, the thing about AI is that it's generative. It's going to be different every time you use it. And it learns based off the conversation. And as I mentioned, we have one of 30 responses that I've used just in this discussion. So I could follow this up with perhaps give me a lesson plan for a workshop on this. And it will know based off of our previous discussion, and it will give me a breakdown based off of what I've given it. Over here on the right, we have a list of chats. Now, I've only got 2 chats that I've done, one right before I recorded and this one here. And this will give you a log of all the stuff that we've been doing. So if you ever need to come back, you can see it, what that chat was and where you got that information, or better yet, if you need to vet something that has come up in the case that you've used AI in something. Now, this all is all well and good. I really need to switch gears, and I've now got a workshop outline. I've got a nice breakdown of what I could do in this workshop by time, which is great, and some follow-up stuff. The thing that I need is something catchy. I need something like a logo or an image that I can use. Well, I can ask it to do that. Please generate... So I have in my prompt, please generate an image, because, and by the way, I am polite to my bot friends. Please generate an image that will help promote this workshop. Could be a logo or something catchy to send out in a flyer or an email. Let's go ahead and see what it can create. And again, I haven't given it any other context outside of the conversation that we've had on this workshop. So I don't have to specify that this is for Canvas, this is for Western Washington University, it's for faculty. All I need to say is that I have this workshop. This is a really good idea. You have all this information. Could you come up with something? Because I'm not an artist. So let's see what it comes up with. All right. And so now it's come up with a couple of logo ideas. Now, something that you should know, if you haven't seen this before, is that AI tends to have a problem with language. Sometimes it'll get it on the nose, and sometimes it's making stuff up. So you may get a really cool image. Like, I really actually do like this logo. But obviously this Western Washington University instructional design. Obviously, this AI kind of went off the rails in trying to use the English language, but I do like this design. I can download this and I could run it into something like Photoshop. And so you can use AI as a way to help ideate, but also innovate a little bit of your own ideas. So I had this idea for this workshop, and I came to AI because I need something catchy. I don't have time, or maybe I'm not an artist, and it can help you get started in creating assets so that you can save some time focusing on what matters, the workshop, not necessarily the art side. Now, this also goes for students. You can have your students use this in class or as part of an assignment. In this next bit, I'm going to actually flip over to my mobile device. And in this case, it's just going to be an iPad and show you a couple of the changes that literally just happened in the last couple of weeks of what AI in Copilot looks like using our Western credentials on a mobile device. So I'm calling up Copilot in my Safari browser on my iPad, and that's simple as bing.com/chat. And to get started, it'll say that they're Copilot and we have to sign in. I'm going to go ahead and take a moment, sign into my Western credentials, and get right back to you. Okay, so now I'm signed in with my Western credentials, and I just went to bing.com/chat. Now, on the mobile version, you might get this. Go to Copilot Experience Designed for Work, because this is, you're signed into your Western account, and you'll get the option to go to Copilot for Work. I'm gonna go ahead and tap on that. When I do, it'll launch me back through our Western sign-in, and because I'm signed in, it'll already remember that, and pass me through to the Western version. Now, you might get this prompt, and this is new at the time of this recording, that it's going to ask you for authentication to be required. And when you hit continue, you might get this. It's an error, and this is new for me. Now, what I have discovered is this might be as a result of Microsoft rolling out their Copilot feature to the new Office 365 app, which is a much better experience than doing AI in a browser. So I'm going to switch over to that. And as you can tell, it looks exactly like what I showed you in the browser, except now I'm on my iPad in the dedicated app for Office 365. And I'm signed into my Western account. You can see that up in the top left. And I can continue on with my conversations or start a new one as I did. And beyond that, it's exactly the same experience. So when we're using Copilot, it can be on an Android or iPhone. I would encourage you to get the Office 365 app and make sure that you're signed in using your Western credentials that way, as opposed to doing the browser on Android or iOS. But on the same token, if you're on a PC or a Mac, you can use any Chrome-based browser, or you could use the Edge browser if you're a fan of using Copilot natively within the browser itself. And it's especially helpful if you're on a PC because it's already on there. So that wraps up this video on common questions that we get into Canvas. I'm AJ Barse. If you need to get a hold of me directly, you can email me, aj.barse@wwu.edu, or you can also send your questions in to canvashelp@wwu.edu, whether that's on AI or Canvas-related issues, instructional design, or anything else that is teaching, learning, and technologies. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next video.